Let me tell you about one random thing that I've done to take back my power, and some of y'all might disagree with it, but it's what feels right to me. I don't really use sir or ma'am anymore at all. I don't call people sir or ma'am. If I know your last name, you'll probably get like a Mr. Blank, Mrs. Whatever. But I don't use sir or ma'am anymore for just random people, random ass people. Like even if you are, seen as important, especially if you're calling me by my first name, I'm going to call you by your first name. And here's my rationale behind this. And this is the psychology behind why I do this. First of all, it is completely possible to be respectful without saying sir or ma'am. Okay. Second of all, and this is really crazy, right? Because I was in the military and I'm from the South and I'm from Texas. And so we grew up with the sir, ma'am, and some of us would get popped if we didn't use sir or ma'am. In the military, sir or ma'am is basically the very basic way to address somebody who is higher ranking than you. The new age, the new age military, I guess practice is that we call everybody sir, ma'am, because everybody is worthy of respect, which is to insinuate that the original intent for using sir or ma'am was to insinuate that only people that outrank you are deserving of your respect. And in the military, rankings are more than just like this person makes more money than you. It has a higher, is at a higher position than you. It really is a matter of worth. Like this person is worth more than you. This person is worth more than you. And that, it's very, very, and that's not true in like the outside world, that's how positions and ranks are seen. But in the military, like you quite literally are government property and you are a well-paid slave, well-paid, yet a slave. You are property. You are literally property of the United States government. And it is like, there is definitely that feeling of this person, if they're higher ranking than me now, you are more, you're more valuable. You hold more value as a piece of property, as a person. And that's one of the things that was held over me when I went through the very abusive situation that I went through in the Air Force. And if you want to know what it is, I have a whole playlist about it. It's very hard to watch. I got out of the military, and after that situation, I was just like, I am never going to let any fucking person pretend themselves to be superior to me in worth. Just as a human being, as a person. Like you might be very, very important. You might be more talented than me. You may be XYZ, but we are still, I'm a grown ass person. That's the thing. I'm not a child anymore. I'm a grown ass person. And I have noticed that this internalized inferiority in me is that I have a tendency to say sir or ma'am most often to older white people or white people in positions of power. I noticed that the first few years that I moved out to New York. And I just really the fuck did not like that. And so one day I was just like, I'm not going to say sir or ma'am anymore. And also because sir or ma'am, like if you read up on some of like the roots of it, like in this roots of like Southern gentility and stuff like that, and how Southern gentility really is almost like the Venn diagram is a circle, kind of like basically a dog whistle for how slaves are supposed to speak to their masters. Yes sir, yes ma'am. Like, there's just a lot of nuance that goes behind, the implications of sir or ma'am. And so I don't say sir or ma'am anymore because I don't see myself as inferior to anyone, and I see nobody as superior to me. Especially if you're calling me by my first name, I'm calling you by your first name. Steve, Karen, whatever. Like, I'm calling you by your first, because I'm a grown up, you're a grown up. I don't care if you're older than me. I'm a grown up, you're a grown up. The only people I'm gonna say sir or ma'am to are people that I literally know and respect. Like, I know and respect you as an elder, but make no mistake, I'm not going to automatically respect somebody just because they're older. Because if anything, if we've learned anything, millennials, in the past few years of like really coming into our own in our 20s and 30s, we know that just because you're older does not mean necessarily that you are A, smart, B, a good person, and 3, just deserving of respect. Just because you're older, that does not mean that you're deserving of automatic bowing down to. You don't. You don't. And it is perfect, like I said, it's perfectly possible to be respectful without saying sir or ma'am. Completely. You know? I refuse to say it. I refuse to say it. And I'm not saying that anyone that still says that are like, you're a fucking, no, like that's just what gives me a little power back. It makes me feel better about myself. It's like an affirmation every time that I talk to somebody that, like, no matter how impressive this person is, they are still just another person, another man. You know, another human. That's all. That's all. Especially since I don't work for anyone anymore besides myself. So even if I were to meet, like, you know, technically I'm the CEO of myself. So I'm up there with Bill Gates as the CEO of me. Like, the CEO of me. I don't give a fuck. That's where I'm at, bitch. I don't care. I don't say sir or ma'am anymore. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel more in control of myself. It gives me more agency, me personally. And it just reminds me that even though I occupy the space in society that I do, at the bottom of the social ladder, it doesn't, like, I'm a whole ass person who is worth just as much as any other motherfucker walking on the street. I don't use it. I don't use it. I know it sounds crazy, but I just can't. Can't do it anymore. I invite you to give it a try. It's honestly, sometimes it can be a challenge to, like, be respectful without saying sir or ma'am, because that's, you know, it kind of feels like the easy way. But you'd be surprised, like, how much you try not to say it and you realize, like, you really don't need it. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird being a veteran and, you know, and growing up down south, but it works for me. I invite you to try it. It might change your life. I don't know.